What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm John Levesque, your host, Senior Platform Evangelist for the Power Platform, and I am joined again today by my friend, Yash. What's going on, Yash?
Hey, John. All good. How are you?
I'm doing really well, man. I'm doing really well. It's wildfire season here in the Pacific Northwest. We got crazy smoke in the sky, so I am bundled up, hiding inside, trying to make some content. So I appreciate you being here, my friend. So
That's
today,
awesome.
everybody, Yash is going to show us how to automate Azure infrastructure deployments. Let's say that you have an IT team who's regularly making all of these requests and fulfilling them and setting up equipment and infrastructure for people. Yash here is going to show us how we make that process simple, easy, and automated. So Yash, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone for those of them who don't know you. You've been on the channel quite a few times. They should know you by now. But for those who don't, let them know who you are and what you do.
So basically, again, as John mentioned, we'll be covering Azure infrastructure deployments using Power Automate. We'll see how we can automate a process to actually deploy a resource in an Azure resource group. A little bit about myself. I'm Yash Agarwal. I'm a software developer based out of India. I'm also a business applications MVP, and I write blogs about the Power Platform quite frequently on my blogging site, which is bythedevs.com. You can follow me on Twitter and connect with me on LinkedIn from the URL and the QR code on the screen. So a quick overview of what we'll be doing today is we'll be taking a look at Azure Resource Manager template. We'll take a look at a smaller example for this session, which will be a storage account. We'll see how we can trigger flows based upon an Outlook email arrival, and we'll see how we can create approvals from that. And once approved, we'll see how we can deploy the resource in Azure.
Awesome. All right. Very cool. I think this is going to excite a lot of IT admins. It's going to save them a lot of time.
Definitely. So let's get started here. First, I want to show you the Azure Resource Manager template. This is a basic general template for a storage account. And we can get a lot of redesigned templates which are there on GitHub. And then there's a template gallery that you can get all these templates from. There are templates for load balancers, for Azure virtual machines, and basically almost all resources in there.
Wow.
So let's see. And here we have these parameters part where I'm providing the storage account type and the metadata location. And then lastly, I have the second component, which is the storage account name, which is coming from the resource group ID, and I'm concatenating it with a word store, so that it gives us a unique string for the storage account name. And then here we are defining the resource, which is of type storage account, and passing all the items, which is the name and the location and what is the SKU. And finally, we are retrieving the output, which is the storage account name from the template. Awesome. So let's get started and see how we can put this into action.
Okay. So real quick, Yash, all this stuff, the links you just mentioned, you'll be able to share those with me so I can put them down in the description.
Yes, I'll do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay. So let's get started with our flow. We want to trigger it when an email arrives. So I'll skip this part and create a fresh one.
You'll notice when Yash does this, he never ever uses those trigger templates. He always gets straight in to building on his own. And I do it the same. I think those of us who've been in Power Automate for a long time, we don't use those trigger templates. We just hit create from blank every time.
Yes, I mean, it's such a muscle memory, I'd say.
Yeah.
So for this one, I'll just fix that whenever this email is arrived from a particular sender, which is mine. And in the subject, I'll say storage account. So this flow is going to trigger only when this email arrives from a particular email address, and the subject filter is storage account. So we can set similarly for a specific shared mailbox or a generic email account where all the requests come for Azure resources.
Yeah.
And based on that, the flow can be triggered. Now I'll add a new step over here. So let's say that if I am requesting a storage account, I want to send an approval email. So we'll do start and wait for an approval.
So now keep that in mind there. Yash did start and wait. There's some other approval actions, start. There's another one, wait. You want the one that combines those both, start and wait.
So over here, I'll add the email address of the person that can be sent to the person who's going to approve it. So Azure resource required and dash from and assign to email address. Right now, I'll again provide my email address over here. But in an ideal scenario, we can have a place over here. We can add another action where we use the Office 365 connector and use the get manager action. In the get manager action, we can provide this from email address and get the manager email address of this particular user and assign the approval to them.
Yep, that'll work if you are in the O365 ecosystem and you have AD fully set up and populated, and that depends on those couple of factors.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay, so we have this approval action. So we're sending that, okay, in subject, we have the storage account already mentioned and is requested by this email address of the person who's requesting it and kindly approve. So the approver can approve or reject it. And then we'll have a new step, which is a condition this time. We're going to check if the outcome of the approval is approved. So outcome and then approve. So what happens is many times I've seen these questions popping up on the forums as well. While using the start and wait for an approval action, the first thing is we are going to check for outcome against the text and make sure that there is no white space after it. As you can see, now there's a white space and this condition will always fail.
Yep.
So we have to be wary of that.
Also, capital A. Yeah, it is
Yes.
case sensitive as well. You want to make sure that it's APPROVE with a capital A, exactly like that. No space, no period, no nothing. Otherwise, it will fail.
Yep. And once we have this in the condition, once the outcome is approved, we want to add an action to validate an Azure resource template. So I'll search for that action.
Oh, wow. That's a built-in action. Nice.
Oh, yes, it is. So the Azure Resource Manager action is this directly connects to your Azure instance, and based upon the RBAC applied to this but logged in user, you can use a set of actions here.
Nice. Very cool. I had no idea about that, actually. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty user friendly as well.
Yeah.
So right now it's signing in for my account, and I'll also open the Azure subscription. Okay, so here right now I have this subscription, which is a free trial subscription, and I have created this resource group MyRG1 in this, and we'll be using the same in our flow. So I'll come back to the flow. It will show me all the subscriptions that I have access to, and within the subscription, what all resource groups that I have access to. So I'll select those. And then for validation, I'm going to enter a custom value. So let's say deploy storage account. And then in the template URI part.
You got a mistype in there. It might mess you up later.
Yes. This one.
There you go.
Okay. And then in the template URI, I'm going to pass this URI directly, which is ending by mytemplate.json. So it's like if there are fixed templates that an organization already has, they can store those on a storage account and then can directly access them from the storage account itself. Nice. So I'll just get it from here.
Storage account inception.
Yeah. And if it was on GitHub, then you get the raw file of the template and you can pass it in the template URI.
Okay.
And then we are going to do the incremental mode so that if a storage account with the same name and similar configuration already exists, it is going to upgrade that one. Now, once we are validating this template deployment, we are going to check that if the deployment was successful, not the deployment, the validation of the deployment. So over here, I'm going to select this provisioning state output from the dynamic selector and check if it is equal to succeeded. Okay. So once you check this, that okay, if the template validation has been successful, only then I'll add an action over here to go ahead and do the deployment completely. So I'll add another action over here.
So notice how Yash is kind of doing a couple different searches here. First, he searched for the connector. Then within that connector, he's searching for the action. It's best to do it that way because if you just search for the action name, sometimes you won't get the result you want. And so if you know both pieces, if you know the service and the action you want, it's best to search service then action.
Right now, I'm hard coding this value, but it can also be parameterized. So we can pass variable values or something of that sort as well. And here in the template URI, again, I'm going to pass the JSON templates URI. And once this has been completed, here there is an option whether we want to wait for the deployment to complete so that the flow is waiting for the entire deployment to get completed, or it just submits the deployment and then it sends a notification that, okay, the deployment has been submitted and you can directly track it on the portal. Apart from that, there's another action over here. So which says read a template deployment. So as you can see, this read a template deployment over here. And again, I'm going to provide the name of the subscription, the email, the resource group. And this time in the deployment name, I'm going to pass the name directly from the dynamic selector. And then here, I'm going to say, wait for the deployment. So this basically is going to read this JSON file and submit a deployment to Azure and complete or submit this deployment from this action, and then wait for it to completely deploy the storage account. Once completed, then it will end this flow. So in between, there are a lot of actions that we can still add. So for example, let's say over here, when we are checking that the outcome of this approval is approved, but if it was rejected, we can send an email to the requester stating that the requirement for this Azure resource was rejected, and they can either submit a new one or revise the previous one. Similarly, over here where we are checking the validation for the template deployment, if this one is not getting successful, if this one is failing, we can add an action over here to send an email notification to the IT admin stating that there is something wrong with their templates and they have to fix it. Or it can also create an Azure DevOps work item or something of that sort so that the relevant team is notified properly and then the work is also being tracked.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. Building in some error handling, and just
Yes.
some, you need to have those rejections because every approval is definitely not going to go through. And so it's always good to have those other pieces. I think it's no flow is complete, right, without having that full set of options available where you want to try and automate as much as possible, right? You want to make sure that in this process, you're not leaving manual work if at all possible. So why leave it to someone to send an email to say this build failed? Or why leave it to an email to say you're not approved? Or why leave it to manual work to say you're not approved? Let's make sure that the flow does all that for us, as well as actually build and deploy resources. Let's have it do all the notification and error handling as well. I like it. I like it.
Yes. So lastly, once the deployment is complete, we also want to notify the requester about the information of their deployment. So I'll just directly pass the JSON body. And it will give the response in JSON. But ideally, what we would want is put a pass JSON action over here and pass the outputs of this action so that we just get the name of the storage account. So
Okay.
over here, we are actually passing this as output, the storage account name. Similarly, we can have a little more detail that we want to pass out over here. But right now, we just want to give the name of the resource. So this is going to be returned as an output from this action.
Okay.
So let's see this in action now. I'll save the flow. Quickly open this. So storage account should be the subject. Now let's test this. I'll come to my mailbox and start a new email.
This is a pretty easy approval, you know. Yash, sending an approval to Yash about resources is it's much easier than most approvals.
Yes. Okay, so now I'll just quickly send this. Email received. And now I'll come to my flow here.
The flow is running.
Oh.
It's a good sign.
Yep.
So we know an email arrived with the subject because we got the green check. Now,
yep.
Sent an approval. There it is.
So it says that, okay, a storage account has been requested by this person, and you can either approve or reject. So I'll approve it and hit submit.
Yeah, I guess I'll give myself a storage account.
So the approval is complete now. And as you can see, it is completed the validation of the template deployment and submitted in our resource group. So I'll quickly come here. I'll open this resource group. And I'll see that there's a deployment ongoing. And then here, it's the name of the deployment that we provided in our flow. So storage account usually takes like less than 2 or 3 minutes to complete deployment. So that is why we have chosen that resource in this example.
Okay.
So it should take another few seconds or few minutes to complete.
And then as soon as it's complete, it'll send the email because you told it to wait.
Yep.
Nice.
So this action where we just told it to submit the deployment template to Azure and that's it. And this action is where we are actually asking it to wait for the deployment to complete. So anytime now it will complete the deployment.
Cool.
Okay, so it says successful. I'll come back to my resource group here and refresh it. Okay. If something is not visible, then the best thing to do is a hard refresh. Do Control F5.
Yeah.
So as you can see, this storage account has appeared over here, and we have also received an email. It says delivery failed because, okay, maybe that it has some policy that it rejects an external email to this account. But as you can see here, I'll show it. Below are the details for the requested resource. It has sent the entire thing in JSON, and nice. It has also sent the link of the URI.
So that might have been why it failed, because sending raw JSON in an email body is probably not allowed.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, it has this outputs property, which has the storage account name property again. And this is what we are sending from our template. So it is just carrying that forward. And then we can verify the name of our storage account here with the one that has been created here.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. And the IT crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It actually eases a lot of process. I mean, I have been working with a couple of clients who have this policy where whenever we onboard their team, they create some resources for us. And usually this process gets extended up to 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
And this kind of automation would definitely bring it down to a lot less. So
definitely, as fast as the approvals could happen, basically, yes. Then the process could happen.
Yep.
Nice. Very cool, Yash. Thank you so much, man. This is great. You know what, guys? To see more stuff like this and even more advanced, go check out Yash's blog, By the Devs. He writes there all the time. He's constantly putting out good stuff. And also, when he introduced himself earlier, he forgot to mention a huge thing. He is one of our, actually, I think still our top Flow super user. He has the most solutions in our community of anyone. Chances are, if you've gone to our community and asked a question, it has probably been answered by Yash. And so that's another spot to go check out. If you want to see some more of Yash's knowledge, go to the Microsoft Power Automate community. search Yash's name, go check out his profile, and you will see tons of content, blogs, answers, solutions, all kinds of goodness that will just, it boggles my mind. For a long time, I'm going to be honest, I thought that Yash was several people. I thought that there were like 2 or 3 people that were manning the Yash account, but no, he's just a superhuman. Awesome. Well, hey.
And just to add to that, I'm one of the winners in the Can You Solve It Automate challenge from the Power Automate community forum. So just take a chance, and maybe you can also start answering a few questions over there. It is a really good learning path, I would say. So,
it is. I would second that. Please go check out the community. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description for that as well. If you want to learn how to become a Flownaut and get involved in competitions and win swag and get your name in lights all over the place and get some credit towards becoming an MVP. If you want to be an MVP, you work in the community, I will have your back and support your ride. Okay, anyways, I don't want to take the focus off of Yash. Go ahead and check the description. Go check out By the Devs. Go check him out on Twitter. Get connected with him in LinkedIn. He put his QR code at the beginning of the video. All right, and that's it. Go follow his goodness. That's it from me. I'll see you guys very soon. Click like, click subscribe. Much love. See you in the next one.
thank you.